Here we have a bunch of onions. These were grown from seeds. So these are actually the seedlings that we're gonna put into the ground. What I like to do is take one of the onions and then slightly clean it up, take off the paper and expose it a little more, but not all the way. Plant it deep enough to where the white part gets covered. That way it'll expand and become a bulb. And they're also very sensitive. These are the leaves. Each leaf becomes a ring in the onion. So you want more onion leaf production. So some of them, like this one here, we're just prune them off at the top. You'll know it's time to harvest when these leaves, when the stem plops over, and that's when it's time to harvest. So sometimes they get too heavy and it'll plop over and it'll stop growing. So to prevent that, we're gonna prune some of them that are a little too long. We'll just take a little bit off the top, like that. But if it's nice and short, then it's fine. And you try not to bend it, because if you bend it and it plops over, it's basically going to stop growing. If you want to start onions from seed, you have to start them in late fall and early winter. So, and it's kind of a cool weather crop too. So it likes kind of cool shadiness.
So what we were doing, I've been trying to saturate this ground because I brought in compost a couple years ago, but it's kind of drying up. So underneath, it's really kind of hard. It's that hard clay that we have here. So by soaking it, broad forking it, and turning the soil, it allows us to use these, what we call dibblers. And dibblers, Harvey made for us. They're perfectly spaced, about 5 inches apart. So it allows us to plant 16 of them at a time. So for today, I was hoping to do 2 rows, kind of like this, about that much spacing. So it'll allow me to plant my cucumbers in the middle, and then the cucumbers will grow all the way up to the top. On that side, I'm going to put carrots and then tomatoes. So the tomatoes, they're companion plants, so they'll grow all the way to the top as well.
So what I like to do is I like to put my soil amendments down first and then go over it with the fork. That way I know a lot of the nutrients actually go into the soil. So this humectant is actually a really fine powder. And it doesn't need very much. You just sprinkle very lightly. And basically what we're doing is just feeding the soil. The soil is a living thing just like we are, and it needs its proteins, it needs its nitrogen, it needs its phosphorus. Right now people are putting the onions into the dibbled holes. So we use this tool called a dibbler, which creates rows of holes that are perfectly spaced, like 5 inches apart, which is optimal for the onions. So we make the holes, and then the people go and place the onions in it and then put the soil back around there. So this onion, as you can see, it's about white up to about there. So that's how far down you want the onion to be. About so. And make it a little deeper. Sometimes they're not deep enough. And then just put the soil back over it like that. So each one of these are about 5 inches apart. And each onion is different. So this is why a lot of times they don't use machines to plant onions. They use people. You have to keep an eye on your beds and weed your beds as often as possible. So it's a really simple process, but it's great to have people do it. Mechanized machines can't tell the individual growth of the onion. So. And also onions are perfect for bordering your garden beds because it deters certain pests, especially ground digging pests that have really sensitive olfactory senses. So moles, voles, those animals, burrowing animals that are dependent on their noses, basically. So they're very offended by the scent of the onion, and therefore will deter it. It's not 100%, but it really helps.